Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're taking a look at a bayonet that really remains something of a mystery. We don't know who's responsible for it. Now, this started life as a US M6 bayonet for the M14 rifle, and these bayonets didn't actually start production until like the early 1960s, despite the fact the rifle was developed in the 1950s. And it didn't last long in American service, only a couple of years before it was replaced by the M16 and the M7 bayonet. However, existing stocks of M6 bayonets and M14 rifles were supplied to other countries. And that was done in a number of different ways, through the military assistance program, through foreign military sales, and through covert transfer of arms as well. And there were probably more methods of transferring arms between countries on top of that I'm not aware of. It always seems there's more popping up. Now, it was initially believed that these were made in South Korea. They were converted from M6 bayonets. And I don't have an M6 to show you the comparison, but the cross piece here, or cross guard, is very crudely made. And it's made to fit an M1 or M2 carbine. You'd call it like an M4 version. So as far as I know, this bayonet doesn't have an official nomenclature. I'm sure it does wherever it was officially made. And for the longest time, we thought they were made in South Korea. But recently, I think it's Gary Cunningham, who's written a couple of books on the subject. American Cold War bayonets anyway. He's done a bit of research, and he's casting a bit of doubt that it may not have been South Korea. And he's pointing the finger instead at Thailand and I think it was Cambodia, maybe. One of those countries. Now, looking at the military assistance program, you can see what countries received M6 bayonets, what countries received large numbers of bayonets to disproportionate number of rifles. It's quite common that you'll see they'll get, say, 1 million rifles and 200,000 bayonets, or even the other way around. They'll get, say, 500,000 bayonets to 100,000 rifles, and they might get 2 million Scabbards. It just makes absolutely no sense. But quite often countries put in this position, they improvised and they made makeshift bayonets. So countries like Norway, as an example, they improvised their older existing bayonets and made them fit the new weapons that are being supplied under the military assistance program. And that's what we believe this is. We believe that this is an M6 bayonet that's been adapted to the M4 configuration for the M1 or M2 carbine. And we believe it was done likely because they received a whole bunch of M6 bayonets, they didn't have use for them, or they weren't using them, and they found the M1 and M2 carbines a lot more handy. Now, that's really all we know about the history, which is really not a terrible lot. I've included this US M8A1 Scabbard because this is the correct Scabbard for both the M6 bayonet and the M4 bayonet. I'm not sure if it's the correct for this bayonet. For all I know, whoever made these made their own Scabbards, but I've included it nonetheless. Now, we'll run through the construction and how it differs. So, it has the exact same blade as the M6, well, every other blade. So, this blade is iconic. It started with the M3 fighting knife, then the M4, M5, M6, M7 bayonets. It also went on to be copied by other countries with like the G3 and the FN, FAL Type A bayonets and Type Bs and Uzis, and there's a million bayonets with this blade profile, very, very common. Nothing special about that, and the finish looks to be reasonably standard. I don't see anything different there. Now, moving down, we have the most noticeable difference, which is the addition of this really crude crossguard, and taking a look at it, the machining on it is absolutely horrific. I have no idea if that was done with any kind of machine or if it was just roughly cut and then filed into shape. I suspect a file was likely used, and drilled out muzzle ring. Now, the grips are the same, no change there. We have an internal locking lever, so you depress this and you've got a lever that rotates, and as you push it up, the bayonet catch drops, and you can slide it off a rifle. Sliding on the rifle, it's got ring plugs. But this is the other change. So when you hear people talk about these bayonets, they only ever talk about the cross piece. They don't talk about the back end of it. So you might be able to tell that there's a bit of material missing from the top on either side. And I've got an M5A1 for comparison. Now, these should be identical, but you can very clearly see the difference there. They've just cut away these hooks and made a much wider surface. So I'm really not sure why that would have been necessary. I imagine that's not going to impact the bayonet lug. I don't think the fore end of a M1 carbine is it's definitely not going to be in the way there. So I really don't know why they've done that. But it was obviously necessary. So obviously for a reason that I'm not seeing. Anyway, that's everything we know about this bayonet. It's completely unmarked. As I said, we believe they're likely from Thailand or Cambodia. I'm doubting Thailand because I keep a pretty close eye on the Thai market, on their secondhand online stores and some of their Facebook groups and things like that. And everything that's Thai military tends to pop up in the secondhand market. I've yet to see a single one of these in there. So I dare say they came from another country, and that's assuming they came from a country at all. For all we know, they were made as bits for the commercial market. So someone had a bunch of M1 carbines, wanted to sell them, didn't have any bayonets, and just crudely put some together. We really don't know. But it makes sense that it would have been military because there is a large number of them. And from what I hear, they started turning up in the US on the surplus market about the same time that M1 carbines and M2 carbines were coming back from overseas and being sold as surplus. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. If you have any information about these guys, please feel free to comment below. We would absolutely love to hear what you have to say, and thanks for watching.